As soon as I realized I am responsible for everything, I now have like power over being able to change it. When it was someone else's, like it's just something that's happening to me and I can't change what happens to me.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, you have to want to change it. I think some people are secretly okay with being a victim or they're addicted to struggle. So they have to want it. They have to be open to it. They do have to let their ego down. The one thing that really got me the furthest, the fastest, just completely surrendering. That was the biggest thing for me, dude. It was, I'm responsible for it all. I have the power to now change it.
You're listening to the #1 real estate podcast in the world, where we talk with real estate professionals all across North America about their wins, losses, lessons, and stories, helping you win in your local market. Today, my name is Cody from Sheridan Street. I am joined with Vikram Deol of the Real Estate Sales Academy. Vikram, my man, this is my last week in Medellin, Colombia, and we lost Vikram. I have no idea where he went. If you're listening on iTunes or if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, you'll have no idea that I'm looking at a black screen. But I am here in Medellin, Colombia. It's my last week, and Vikram's back. Oh, that's exciting.
I'm a magician. I do magic on the side.
You are a magician. I will give you that. You're a very sly human being. So I'll give you the fact.
Sly. Wow. Wow. Sly human being. That's aggressive, Cody, on your last week in Medellin. I might have to hire some people so you actually disappear this time.
Wow.
But I know. I mean, that was aggressive. What you said.
I'm aggressive. That is probably the most aggressive thing I've heard somebody say in a long time.
24 hours.
Yeah. Okay.
What's up, man? How's business?
Business is good, man. We just launched me and Sharon have been chatting about this for a while, about launching like an appointment engine trial. So we just literally launched it last night.
What does that even mean?
What does that even mean? So for people that don't know what we do, we essentially get appointments and live transfers for real estate agents, and we rolled out a trial offer for anyone that has over 1,000 leads in their database. Okay. We'll take those 1,000 leads, we'll throw them into our dialer. Our call center will call them to qualify, send them over to that, and you'll kind of get almost like the test drive our system prior to actually using it. It's like $1. The reason we're charging $1 is because we've learned along the way that if you don't pay attention. It's $1. You get to test us out. We send you 3 live transfers. We show you kind of how the system works, how it operates, how we do a live transfer. We have all the scripts that Sharon has kind of put together for us, helped us really create this really cool system. And I told my team that we were doing this on Monday, and they banded together and they figured out how to launch it last night. So we have... Nice. I gave them 3 days to figure it out, and they figured it out, and now we're here, and I think we've had 5 or 6 people apply since an email I sent out this morning. So pretty cool.
I got 1,000 leads in my database, bro.
I got you, bro. I got you.
I got 13. I think when I retired and I transferred my database over, I think there was 6,600 people in there.
Okay, well, hand those over to me. I got you. But how are you doing, man?
How are you doing? There's money in those.
There probably is 6,600. I guarantee there's money. We need to go back to Bellevue, and we need to go back to Bellevue, and we need to open up a team and let's go.
I'm gonna write that down on my list of things and to try to find that list, because there's literally 6,000 people at one point was in there. I'm pretty sure it's been 6 years.
How are you though, man? What's new and exciting in your world? Before we intro our guests, I want to kind of hear a little bit about Real Estate Sales Academy. I know that you and I have had some really interesting conversations over the last week about kind of what you're up to, and exciting to see that stuff grow. So what's happening?
Yeah, man. About 3 months ago, I just really pivoted because, there's a lot of things in real estate that are really complicated, but if you can't book an appointment, none of that actually matters. And so,
right.
And dude, people are getting wins left and right because learning how to use your tonality, learning how to use cadence, learning how to ask questions that actually probe people to open up emotionally, bring down the walls of resistance. I love what you do. And I think you have a super dope company, I also think that most real estate agents, before they ever should even walk into an office, should spend 3 to 6 months learning how to sell. Like they should keep their job
Agreed.
at whatever they're doing, and then they should take 3 to 6 months to actually perfect the craft. And we're on episode 120 right now. We've interviewed 90 to 100 of some of the biggest agents that most people would ever meet in their life.
Yeah.
Even our guest right now, he's over $100 million in total volume in his lifetime. Like that's a lot of dough, bro. Every single one of them that's done really well right out the gate said, we studied the market. We studied what we needed to do. We studied brokerages. We learned the process and systems, and then we learned how to sell. And so I think everybody should start selling first and then buy leads second, because they will actually convert those leads.
Exactly.
Because it's never the leads. It's always the skills.
You're preaching to the choir here, bro. I think
I know.
it's about time.
This is like 80% of our conversations at dinner.
Yeah, I know. Like we literally have conversations about in Medellin over dinner over like, I wish that people would just learn how to sell, because if they learn how to sell, they would be more successful. But Vikram, I think it's I think we should introduce the guest. I think it's about time. He's been sitting here patiently,
bantering, watching tech blow up and whatnot. I'm actually excited to hear John's story. We got John Barnak from Chicago. He's also a awesome real estate agent with Real Brokers, which is how we got introduced to him. It feels like we're hitting real with Real all the days, all the times. But super dope, over $100 million in sales, has an interesting story. Started out working blue collar and then jumped up into the ranks of, a top agent. So John, I would love to kind of dive into your quick story about how you transitioned from working to real estate and crushing it. And also welcome to the RE Agent Podcast, bro.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the introduction. I enjoyed the band. I think you guys, yeah, I mean, in tech stuff, that just makes it exciting for my part. So, thank you for the warm introduction, and I really do appreciate you guys giving me the time and space to come on here, share with your audience, and share my story. I love sharing my story because I think a lot of times people are hesitant or scared to get into sales, right? And I'm just going to call it what it is, because real estate is sales, but sales is such a remarkable skill to develop, because if you can develop good like communication skills and sales skills, you could go like anywhere in the world and do anything and be successful, right? And it's just a very empowering feeling to know that I could pick up and go somewhere, even if I lost everything today, because I've already built it once and because I already have the skill sets in my pocket, I know I could go just be successful anywhere. So I always appreciate the opportunity to share with people that story of getting started. So factory worker to manager broker for the state, and overseeing hundreds of agents, and a team that's growing over multiple states, 135 million in sales volume, and close to 900 transactions now. It is a lot different than it was before, right? Working in the factory, and it was interesting. I had a decision to make.
How so is it different working in real estate than working in a factory?
The factory was a lot easier.
A lot what?
Easier. I come in every day. I worked on an assembly line and literally just did the same thing every single day. Now, after 3 years of doing that, in my early 20s, I was like developing ulcers, because of like, I'm not the type of person that can just I can't like do that over and over. I was like literally going crazy from the stress from my job, and just constantly doing the repetition over and over again. And then you may believe it, maybe not, I wasn't a huge fan of authority, especially in my early 20s. So didn't like people telling me what to do, right? So I loved the opportunity to come into real estate and start to get paid per result versus per hour. I knew working there that there was a limit to how much I could earn, because I was getting paid per hour and someone else was determining that worth or value. And I loved the opportunity to go out and just bust my ass. I've always been a hard worker. My dad was a hard worker. He raised me to, if you want something, you got to go get it. You have to earn it. And, it was interesting. I went to work versus college, because I was like, let's get in and start making money. And I was making like $20 an hour when I was 18 years old. So it wasn't like, McDonald's money. It wasn't like Donald Trump money, but it's decent money, right? Starting off, right? Getting some good money. I had some discretionary income, right? Some tattoos and stuff like that. I probably bought and did a bunch of stuff I shouldn't have, but it's how you learn. And I actually got introduced to real estate through one of my good friend's mom. She's a top producer at a local office here. And she's like, you should just try it. She's like, you might be good at it. So I jumped in. I took the leap of faith. She convinced me with the money, dude. So she's like, yeah, last year I made $300K. And at that time, I'd never heard of anyone making that much money. Like my dad, 6-figure earner, $100K a year. I was making like $50,000 a year. I was like, holy crap, right? That's the goal, right? I want to do that. And it was interesting. So I got in after 3 months of being licensed. I quit my full-time factory job and just dove into real estate. So one of the ways
when you got into real estate, John, I'm wondering, were you like right out the gate, you're a heavy hitter, like you're crushing it, you're selling multi-million-dollar homes, you're making $30,000 commissions, right? Like, I mean, after 90 days, you quit your job, so you must have been crushing it, right? Or did you get in and you're just
absolutely not? No, absolutely. Oh, it's completely the opposite. So,
so you're not like the hero story of all the other real estate agents of the world?
No, I actually scraped and clawed and, I went through some shit. Can I cuss on this podcast? Is that okay?
No, you can't. No fucking cussing allowed. This is a strict.
Damn it. Okay. I might have to walk up.
Hey, didn't you hear the banter we had before we hit record? Like there is really no rules at all.
Perfect. Okay. Then we'll fit it great here. So no, it wasn't off to the immediate start. I think I made $13,000 my first year. And
hold on. I'm going to pause you real quick. I want to know how you go from making 50 grand a year, right? And I don't know how old you are, but I'm going to assume you're somewhere around my age, mid 20s.
34 right now.
Okay. So you're
23 when I got into the biz, 23.
Okay. So you're still young. So you get into the biz, you're 23. You don't have a lot of financial needs at that point, 23, no kids, single.
Yep.
So tell me the mindset shift that goes from working in a factory, a production line, right? How do you go from that mindset where everything's dialed in? All you got to do literally is show up and be not so hungover that you can put the widget into the widget spot, right? Like not be so high that you could put the widget in the widget spot. What's the mindset shift from going from that lifestyle? Because we talk to a lot of agents that struggle from being a worker to a owner, because essentially we're all business owners. So
yep.
How is that mindset shift for you? And is that why it took you a year to kind of get some production?
Well, all right. So there's a lot to unpack there, and I'm huge on mindset. The difference between struggling and then starting to succeed came when I made that mindset shift. Happened a little bit later, and there was a lot of rough years, but the short story is, I looked at the landscape and the people, and the job is nice and it's cool. And I just show up, and to your point, I could be as high as I want or as drunk as I want. As long as I could put the things together, then I get paid. But I just didn't like where the people that had been there for 40 years were at in their life. I was like, there's no way I'm going to do this for 40 years and still be doing the same thing and still complaining about the boss, the job, the money, the whatever. Right. So it became clear to me that the goals and the dreams that I had, and I told everyone in the factory I was going to retire when I was 30, when I was like 18 or 19. So and they all laughed at me and they thought I was stupid. It's a common theme. A lot of the stuff that I do, people think I'm stupid for doing it. But I've learned that if people are saying, hey, you shouldn't do that, or that's not a good idea, or that's stupid, probably means I'm heading in the direction, right? Like quitting my factory job. Everyone told me that was the worst decision I would ever make. I had two thoughts though. Here come to answer your question directly. One was, if I'm not good at this real estate, or if I fail at it or whatever, I could always get another job.
Right.
I never thought that would be an issue. Right. I knew I was at least smart enough to do some shit that, right. I know I can do that. I never thought that would be an issue. But I have a puppy. You might hear him a couple times.
It was that a boxer in the background?
He is a boxer. Yeah.
Beautiful boxer.
Yeah. Yeah. He loves barking at our neighbors for some reason. He does not like them. So whatever. My other thought was, if I am good at this, or if I can pick it up, if I can, exceed at it, I felt I could create like my own future. And that, I think, was like the most appealing thing to me was being in an ecosystem where I was behind the wheel and like I was responsible for creating the results. I was responsible for where I was going. I didn't like that the job like had their thumb on me type of thing. That was my mindset around it. And yeah, I took a leap of faith. I literally said, I'm just going to try this. I'm going to put my all into it. I tried it part-time for 3 months and I just was not getting anywhere. So I'm a 0 to 100 person. I don't like things taking a long time. I've got some OCD around getting shit done. So it's like, if I'm doing something and I don't feel like I am progressing as quickly as I know I can or feel like I can, it drives me nuts. And I just like, one day I just woke up and I was like, if I'm going to try this, I'm going to give it my all. And
now hindsight is often 2020. Like, looking back at when you started in the real estate business, when you made that transition, were there looking back, would you have done anything differently? Like you said that you kind of went all in within the 90 days, but like maybe somebody out there currently that is saying, hey, I want to make the transition. I don't want to quit my job, or maybe I do want to quit my job and I want to go all in on this. Like, what would you advise them to do in that 90-day period leading up to actually the transition from a factory job or the transition from a teaching job, or maybe they're serving? Like, what would you recommend looking back?
I've been asked that question several times. And for me personally, I wouldn't change very much, if anything at all. The way I did it made me who I am today. And I wouldn't be able to have conversations like this. I wouldn't be able to share with people authentically, like the struggles I went through. And one thing I pride myself on is like the way that I did it. I don't ever want to hear someone give me excuses or whatever. Like no one can tell me like, that's not possible, or you can't do that, or it won't work for me. It's like, well, bullshit, I did it. Right. And so, cause I've already done it. I'm a human being. You're a human being. We can do it together.
It's so funny. I just did an Instagram live talking about these things as I was walking home from the coffee shop. And it's funny. It's fascinating that this is our conversation right now. When there are a lot of real estate agents right now that did really well, like as Sharon would say, during the momentum-based market, right?
Yep.
Now that the momentum's out and people actually have to work, there's less transactions, right? I think we're going to go from like 10 million sides to like 5 or 6 million sides in the next couple. That's the projections, maybe even less. So there's a lot of less work for a lot of people that did really well the last couple of years. It's a kick in the gut for a lot of people because they didn't realize, for the people who haven't been in the market since 2010 or earlier, they never seen a bad market. They've never seen a challenge, right? And it's not their fault, but it is their problem. As my coach, Jeremy Miner, says, it's not your fault, but it is your problem to figure out the things. What is one of the things that you have gone through, John, personally, that you had to overcome in order to be the person you are today? Because you said you had a lot of challenges.
Yeah. I mean, and to name a few, I mean, I sold just about everything I had. So like there was days where it was lunch or gas to get to my next show. Wow. There was like things I had to like sell just to like pay like my next board due to keep my license, right? And I made that sacrifice because I believed I would figure it out, and I believed I would get there, and I believed it would all be worth it. I remember must have been like into like my second year or something. My dad didn't really understand sales. He was blue collar. He worked in a factory his whole life. He was paycheck, right? Every week or every 2 weeks. And I remember him asking me almost on a weekly, maybe even like daily basis, when you going to get a job? When are you going to go back to work? As I do. but I'm working every day, dude. Just because the results ain't here yet doesn't mean I ain't doing shit. So
You're working, not only are you working more, but you're working in a capacity that you've never had to work in your life.
yep. So figuring it out and working my ass off and trying to like all at the same time, right? Building the plane and the parachute and the plane's crashing and my parachute has holes in it, like all this shit, right? All happened at the same time. And I remember one day, this is like my conviction level. And I think this is the thing that people don't understand when they get into like sales or get into something like this. I looked him straight in the face. I said, Dad, I'm never going to get a job again. I like made up my mind that I was not going backwards to get a job. I said, I will go broke. I will go homeless. I will sell everything I have before I go back to working for someone else again. I'm going to make this work. And guess what? He never asked me that question again. Okay. Never asked me.
I have a question. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
I feel like you're talking a lot more than normal. Cody, feel free to jump in anytime. But I got
You talk a lot though, so
it is not a lie. I got a question about sales, and you said something that was really impactful. Like, my dad didn't understand sales. I've never been in sales. You said at the beginning, we are real estate salespeople. Our license is a salesperson's license.
Mm-hmm.
When you shifted that mind, right, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm a salesperson. When you got into the mindset of selling and realizing, okay, maybe I don't have the skills necessary. Like, I was really good at putting the widgets in the spot, but holy shit, like, I'm dealing with people's emotions. I'm dealing with people's money. I'm dealing with people's all sorts of things. How did you get into the sales mindset, or what was like one of the first things, or what was one of the first things you did to start to learn some sales skills?
So reading, I've read, I'm closing on like 150 books now since I've got into sales. So reading is huge. I'm a huge advocate of you got to be learning, you got to be growing every single day. So that it's something I focused on. A lot of sales books, a lot of personal development books, a lot of communication books, question books, negotiating books, mindset, whatever you can think of, right? All of that stuff. YouTube, believe it or not, dude, I got a ton of shit from YouTube, man. I absolutely hate it. And words are important to me, and I don't like using hate very often, but I hate when people tell me I don't know how to do something. What I hear is I'm too lazy to figure it out.
Amen.
Right? So don't tell me you don't know how to do something. You can just tell me the truth and say, hey, I'm too lazy to go figure out how to do this, because Google and YouTube exist, and now ChatGPT can even fucking give you a game plan on how to do shit. Do not tell me you don't know how to do something, right? Just tell me the truth, bro. You're too lazy to figure it out. I'm cool with that. So I took it upon myself. And I remember I had this moment, this revelation, and this was probably about 4 years into my career. It took me about 4 years to figure this out. And I was struggling every single fucking day and every year. I refused to quit, right? I'd rather struggle and have it my way than throw in the towel and tell people I quit, right? Michael Jordan said, if you quit once, it becomes a habit. So I was like, I'm not giving up on this. This is my dream, right? And it's interesting because I hear people all the time, like the overnight success thing. And when you talk to people about, or who are successful, it's like, dude, it took me 10 years to have this overnight success, right? You just starting to realize it now. So hindsight, looking back on that, makes a lot of sense. It's like 4 years of struggling. And I remember I just had this revelation. I'm responsible for it all. The good, the bad, the ugly, the shit that works, the shit that doesn't work. I'd piled up tons of credit card debt. I had like $55,000 in credit card debt at one time. I ended up selling my car, got a little shitty beater car because I couldn't keep up with the payments on it. All this stuff, dude. But it was always someone else's problem. The credit card companies are screwing me. This client is an asshole. Whatever it was, dude, it was always an external thing that was causing my issues. And when I just like woke up one day and I was like, well, none of that shit is real. I'm the reason why I'm here today, right? I'm the reason why, I put all this shit on credit cards, or I am not being a good communicator with this client, or I'm even like the stuff that didn't work out. It's like, well, what did I do wrong in the situation, or what could I have done better in the situation? And it was like, dude, it was a light bulb. It was as soon as I realized I am responsible for everything, I now have like this power over being able to change it, because until it was my responsibility, when it was someone else's, like, it's just something that's happening to me and I can't change what happens to me.
Yeah.
Right. But once it became my shit, I have the power to now change it. And within 18 months, I paid off $55,000 credit card debt.
Wow.
And dude, it's just been stacking up since that mindset. So that was the biggest thing for me, dude. It was, I'm responsible for it all.
Yeah. It's so funny that you say that, because I literally wrote that exact thing on Facebook literally 2 days ago. I think even a day ago, that I'm like, once you realize in leadership and in business that every mistake is your fault and every win is your fault, it's like, it almost puts you in this place where you realize that it's like, I dictate my future. I dictate the things that happen, the good, the bad, the ugly. That is often hard for many real estate agents. And we all talk with real estate agents through agent attraction, through agency world. We speak with a lot of agents. I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs, and that pill, like you said, it took you 4 years to kind of swallow that pill. How can agents come to that self-realization that if they win, that's their fault. If they lose, it's their fault? Because there are a lot of agents out there that live with a victim mentality, because they like you said, like, a lot of agents come out of maybe it's a corporate career where, ultimately it was the man that was holding them back, or they come from like a factory job where it's like, I can't get ahead because the factory, and then they get into entrepreneur world where it's like, the only thing that's holding me back from winning is me. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give to an agent that is out there that might be making the same excuses that you made early on in your career? And how did you break that habit to shift that mindset?
Well, the first thing is stop it. Just fucking stop it, dude. Right? That's it. It's not, whatever your story you're making up is not real. Right. So that would be the first thing. And I get it, because people told me the same thing. And it's kind of twofold. One, you have to be ready or open to like accepting that. And I think some people are afraid to accept that, because if they're responsible for everything, then that means they're responsible for everything. Right. And if they're not where they want to be in life, they're not happy with their job, their relationships, the amount of money they made, the amount of money they saved, the house they live in, their car, all of a sudden, if they just have to start accepting that can be to your point, that's a pretty big pill to swallow. Right. And that's tough to do. So I think there's a component of fear, but people have to be willing to accept that. And I forgot who it was who said it. Somebody way smarter than me. They said there's only two things that really give people that type of revelation. It's time. And unfortunately, some people go through their whole fucking life and never figure this out, dude. 60, 70, 80-year-old people that are still victims. And that sucks, man. And that's just sad. In my opinion. And then the other thing is like just a major catastrophic event. And I was literally at the point where I was out of excuses, dude. I literally ran out of excuses and things to blame for where I was at, and the results I had or results I didn't have. And it was like, I mean, I was literally about I was going to file bankruptcy and just quit. They're on the top, like, wipe everything clean, and I'm just going to restart. And someone told me, don't do that. Take the responsibility. And like, dude, you'll be way better off than just trying to like scapegoat the system and then just repeat that cycle again.
The level of ability to take responsibility for one's actions is something that I think that anyone listening back to this podcast, it's like you said, it's a tough pill to swallow, but it's like, it's one of the most freeing things that you could do, that you could be like, okay, you're like, there's something underlying everything that you said. It's like belief in your ability to figure things out. It's like the idea of confidence is created in your belief in your ability to figure things out. The Brendan Burchard calls it the confidence competence loop. But one thing I'll add to what you're saying is, something that I've learned along the way, and I know that Vikram echoes this sentiment, and I know that, Sharon, mentor to all of us here, echoes that the only way to change your life is two ways. There's really two things. You either change your environment or you change the people that are in the environment. Can you talk to us a little bit about what was there a shift that happened in the people you were around? Like you mentioned that there was a conversation that you had with somebody that and I would really like to dig deeper into, like, was there key pivotal people that kind of came along in your life that said, like, look, John, like, you need to take responsibility for your actions? Was it an outside influence, or was it the people that you were around? Obviously you took responsibility for your action, but was there people along the way that helped you get there?
Absolutely, man. There's been people. I'm like one of the luckiest people, and I feel so grateful and so blessed because I've just had so many good mentors and people that just like honestly care about me and my success. And some of them I was an asshole to, right? And they still, even though I was an asshole, they still cared enough about me and my success to not let that deter them from continuing on. I mean, I had people that for years were giving me that coaching, giving me that advice. Hey, you should check this program out. Hey, you should check this book out. Hey, you should start watching this dude on YouTube. And for years, dude. And biggest thing for me was, like, I just always felt like I knew better. Like, I was the kid in high school that actually all the way through school, I didn't have to study for shit. I would go to class, I'd watch the teacher do an equation on the board, and then I would just have it. And I was a C student without doing any homework because I was like, homework is a waste of time. So I wouldn't do any homework. I would just show up, I'd get an A on the test, all the people around and be like, you're a fucking asshole, right? Well, I'm sorry. So I just always felt smart, and I always felt like I knew better. So a lot of that struggle was me just not being coachable. Two things: not being coachable and then not accepting responsibility. So blaming other people, and then I knew better. I'm a victim over here, and then I know there's a person over here that's doing 100 transactions a year, but I can do it better, or I'm going to figure out a better way to do it. I'm going to figure out an easier way to do it.
I got a question for you real quick before we wrap up, because I think this is a good segment to wrap up with. When it comes to accepting responsibility, and I've talked to a lot of people, Cody and I have talked to a lot of people, the real estate industry is really ego driven, even when you're not at the position where you really should have an ego. Like in most worlds, like, if you're not a top 1, 5, 10%er, you kind of don't pretend like you are. But in real estate, there's that fake it till you make it, gotta get the nice car, gotta wear the Gucci and Chanel and Prada. And I sold my first $1 million house in a red Dodge Ram fire truck. Like, it was old, beat up. It was a work truck. I sold multiples of millions of dollars in that trucks. Actually, now that I think about it, where does the moment come where you're like, oh my God, and how can we help real estate? Because there's a lot of agents right now that are good people, bro. And them. Cody knows them. They're good people. Their ego is so high up that it blocks them from accepting that there's an alternative method that might possibly be better. How do we help real estate agents, or anybody listening to the podcast in that regards? How do we help those people lower their ego to allow the training in?
Man, how much time do we have?
Like 45 seconds.
45 seconds. Oh shit. Okay. So, I mean, there's books, there's podcasts, there's training programs, there's things that,
but they're not going to go to those. They're not going to go to those until they realize that they have an issue. And the issue isn't Cody's leads. The issue isn't the market. The issue isn't their social media. The issue is not, people don't like them. That's none of the issues. Like, the issue is that they just need help, and they don't realize that they need help in aspects. Like, how do we get them to realize they actually need help?
Questions.
Who asks those questions? Like, who is responsible in the real estate industry to ask those questions? Like the brokers, the team leaders, who is responsible to ask those questions so that real estate agents actually can go out and find the help that suits them?
Well, based on this conversation, it sounds like we've got a platform. We've got an opportunity to give back and share with people and contribute to people in a way. And especially, I don't know how many followers you guys have. I don't know how many people listen to the shit. You look pretty successful with your backgrounds and, the stuff. You got the microphones and all the, all that stuff, and you got the banter down and everything. So I'm sure you have some following, but it starts with people like us and being the voice of, you got to take responsibility. You got to be coachable. You got to be open-minded, to change your life. And here's the thing, you have to want to change your life. Because I think some people are secretly okay with being a victim, or they're addicted to being a victim, or they're addicted to struggle. I don't know how it happens. You could speculate, but I think there's some component of that. Some people, so they have to want it. They have to be open to it. They do have to let their ego down. And that was something that took me some coaching, some time, right, to let that thing go. And it's still there. But it's a combination. And probably I would say the one thing that really got me the furthest, the fastest, was just completely surrendering to a process or a system. And I remember part of that revelation was in, there was a coach I had, and he, it was like a group thingy, and he wouldn't let me come into the group until I produced the result that I gave him. Integrity is huge. So words create reality, right? And if you say things and constantly don't do them, then you build that habit. And then that's how people say, well, I want to make $100,000 a year, but can never get over 50. Well, it's because your relationship to your word and the reality you create around it is shit. So everything you say is important. You need to be careful what comes out, or at least mindful of it. And it was he's like, I'm not letting you get into the program until you go do what you said you're going to do. And it was like a 3-hour class. And he's like, sit your ass down and make phone calls until you produce the result. And I sat there for 3 fucking hours, dude. Phone call. And in my mind, I'm thinking, this is stupid. This guy's an asshole. He's fucking picking on me. He's singling me out. All this shit, right? He's going through my head. And he brought me down, and he's just like, now, how does it feel to give 100% commitment towards your word?
Wow.
And what you said you were committed to?
Man, John, we're going to end on this note because that was powerful. I love it. I follow the creed of Bedros Keuilian from The Project, and I'm a man of my word. I make a promise and I keep it. I'm responsible for everything in my life, and that gives me the power and control to change my circumstances. I lead when called upon and follow when I must. I show respect to my fellow man, demand respect back, and grovel to no one. I protect those who can't protect themselves. I leave others better than I found them. I have high standards of expectations, tremendous attention to detail, and am driven to dominate life. I am the modern day knight. And basically what you were saying wraps up in this really well. If people were wanting to find you, John, to ask you questions about your life, your journey, or maybe possibly, as Cody would say, send you an agent-to-agent referral, or just connect with you and follow your amazing story, where would be the best place for them to go to find you?
So I'll give you a couple of sources, and here's what I'll say about that. These are how most of my conversations go, because it starts with what's up here. Right. So if anyone ever comes to me and they're like, hey, I want to work with you or partner with you, my first conversation is going to be around, okay, what are your goals? What's your mindset? What's your plan to get there? I want to make sure that we're on the same level first, because that is the most important thing. Before we even talk about business or splits or diversification or whatever it might be, first is going to be, we got to be on the same wavelength. I love these types of conversations. People can find me just about it. So I don't know what information I'm allowed to give out on here. I do everything.
Whatever you want to give. If you want to give your social security, your address, your bank accounts, your blood type, and
so my dog's name
his name.
My dog's name is Ozzy. We'll start. So, dude, I make it super easy. I've had the same cell phone number since high school. I've got thousands of guys. I think I'm pushing 6,000. I'm trying to keep up with you, Vikram. But personal cell phone. So call me, text me. If it's a number I don't know, it'll automatically be blocked. So leave me a message or shoot me a text. 630-439-6385. Personal cell phone. Don't be a dick with it. I'm here to help. If you have questions or need it.
Could you imagine a doctor giving out their phone number and they're like, Doctors are like, I don't want anybody to know my phone number. Lawyers are like, I don't want anybody to know my phone number. Real estate agents are like, can I put my phone number out on the internet? Like on your podcast after thousands of people are listening? You're like, yeah, sure.
Anybody and everybody, bro. Personal email, my first initial last name, jbarnak10, BARNAK 10 @gmail.com. I'm on Facebook, John Barnak. I'm on Instagram, John.Barnak. I'm on YouTube, John Barnak. I've got a channel there. Facebook is kind of like clienty. I'm just like trying to generate business there. So whatever, you see some pictures of my dog or whatever.
People will find you where they need to find you.
Instagram is, try to keep that. I'm trying to do more reels.
Okay.
Consistent with that. And that's mindset stuff. And then just sharing like little topics and ideas that I think are really cool there. And then YouTube, I'm using as more like an educational platform. So taking things that I've been very successful with over the years and then breaking them down and giving people the exact blueprints on how to duplicate the things that are working for me and our team.
John, bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you for sharing so much of your story so vulnerably and so honestly that I really think that this is going to be a great podcast for anyone to listen to around mindset, around business, around what it really takes from a mindset perspective to be successful in the space today. So I want to say thank you. And I want to say thank you for tuning into another episode of the RE Agent Podcast. If you're listening on iTunes, you're listening on Spotify, I just want to say thank you more than anything. All we ask is that you leave us a quick review on iTunes. It really does help us reach more real estate agents. It would mean the absolute world to us. If you're listening back on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the RE Agent Podcast. See you soon.